but I know they know because my son's, all his sports numbers in high school were 13. That's how I knew that, okay, we're getting along. He understands because all his numbers, he didn't have to tell me anything. And my daughter, she cares. She sees me. I cry every time I see 13 hours. At the end, for some reason, when Jack's on the phone calling, I lose it every time. And I know she was caring because she goes, "Why do you watch this if it makes you cry?" And it wasn't a bad thing. She just was, honestly, I think, just cared. She cared. And she just couldn't understand why I still watched it, even though it hurt. Which said a lot, which made me feel good too. I know I think she was really caring, like, Dad, I don't want you to feel like that anymore. So we're in a great place now, but it did take time to rebuild. And as a father, you have to be there. I was finally home more. That's why don't do as much speaking as I don't travel to do a lot of anymore, because dads need to be around for their kids, or you're not going to have that relationship that you want when you get older, that you dream about having with your kids, because kids remember when you're not there.
Battleline podcast episode 197. And I've been racking my brain of who we're going to have on for the big episode 200. The name at the top of my list, because we haven't booked it yet. If I had to choose one right now, I'm going to say we should go with Andrei Arlovsky. Bring it back to episode 1.
And he's been fighting more. He fought again, and I love having Andre on. So I think having him on every 100th episode, unless Pablo gets off his ass and wants to come on, I think that'd be awesome. And he's just a good dude, man. I love that.
Well, episode 100, if you remember back, was, if I remember, September of 2022, and we had Mad Max Mullen.
Do we? Oh, I didn't. Shit, you know that better than I. That's a good. Max is a good dude too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
200 would be good though, because I feel like Andrei Arlovsky, it's literally been nearly 4 years. So let's get him on. I feel.
Yeah, bring him back.
You always say we'll have you back on, and it's like 4 years, and he was a great guest. I think it'd be cool. At some point, I'd even like to do in studio again with him if I'm ever in South Florida, because I love that area. He's in that whole Boca Raton, Boynton Beach, Delray Beach area. It's my favorite area.
We haven't had him on twice. I thought we.
No.
I'm getting old, dude. I'm getting fucking old.
We've had Pat Miletich, so we've had other fighters.
Pat's good, dude. That'd be another one, be a good one to have him back on again. But yeah, Pat's awesome. Andre would be good. You know me, dude. Whatever you want, but I think Andre would be outstanding, and we can still talk about his fighting career, and he's gotten more into. I think he reps Canik firearms, so he's even more into firearms, and I even think he does some competitions now. So,
oh wow,
that's one thing we didn't really get into within the first time is the firearms, and because
we did a little bit,
he wasn't, and he just wasn't into it as much as now. He's, like I said, now he's a spokesperson for Canik, and Canik makes a good little gun. It's actually a very good little. We're not looking for sponsorship, Canik, but hey, just let you know. They actually do make a good pistol. I've shot one. I went on speaking events in South Dakota 6 months ago, and just out of the box. And yeah, that thing's accurate. Great little gun, and it's inexpensive. I mean, it can be as expensive as you want to make it, but just a stock Canik gun is a good gun. So I wouldn't, have him on, and he can talk about that because he's big time into shooting now, more so than I think he was 4 years ago.
Yeah, that would be cool. Well, speaking of actual sponsors of the show, before we get into everything, got to talk about Bubs Naturals. I mean, they have the best coffee out there, Bubs Brew. They also have their MCT oil powder, which is a great pre-workout, as you often say, great energy source. Their apple cider vinegar gummies with the mother, unlike a lot of other apple cider vinegar gummies on the market, which is great for healthy digestion, cleansing the body. But really, their flagship product is their collagen protein. Now, for those of you who may have not listened to all of our episodes talking about collagen is the most abundant protein in the body. It is literally the glue that holds our bodies together. Collagen is a blend of highly functional amino acids found in all the body's connective tissue. Bubs upcycles cowhide that would be wasted by leather tanneries, and they use the hide from pasture-raised and grass-fed cows. An enzyme bath breaks down the hide into molecules and boosts the amino acid profile. The collagen is agglomerated and hydrolyzed into a powder, and Bubs stands alone as a single-sourced and certified product. They're flavorless. You can mix it with absolutely anything. Bubs is the highest quality for superior solubility and they are single sourced. They don't buy from multiple sources and mix together their products by compromising quality. They're the only 100% NSF or sports certified brand. So after your early 20s, collagen production declines every year. Collagen is critical in the support and reconstruction of joints. It supports gut health and muscular recovery, muscle recovery, and promotes healthy skin, hair, and nails. So check them out, guys. As always, bubsnaturals.com. You can find it all over the place, but the best deal is really through us when you use the promo code Battleline for 20% off. That's bubsnaturals.com. Promo code Battleline for 20% off.
From Kansas City to New York City, from planet Earth to extraterrestrial life in space, a podcast with no equal, engaged in unconventional warfare through your speakers and headphones. This is a show about embracing the suck, conquering your demons, and finding God in the face of adversity. Kris, Tanto, Paronto.
Switch is on. Motherfucker, I'm gonna shoot you in the face.
Ian, Scotto.
You know, Ian and I have been dating for a long time.
You are now tuned into the Battleline Podcast.
The Switch is on, Battleline Podcast, and we have not done a Q&A episode in a really long time.
Yeah.
And actually, the last time we did, we only had a handful of emails, and now we have a lot, man. So it tells me that the podcast is growing, and people are really loving the recent episodes, and new people are discovering the show, which is great to me.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And we love the interaction. I know I do. I really want that. The questions and Q&As and stuff, if we're not getting any questions, then it does. It's a barometer to see how are we doing well. What do we need to do? At least when we're getting a lot of questions, it helps us because we know we're getting listeners, which is fantastic. That's of course any podcast. That's what you want. But also, we know that there may be some things that we need to talk about more. With your questions, it helps guide us into the path that we need to go, what our listeners want to hear. And it's also a way of you guys telling us thanks. And for me to say, hey, man, you guys are giving us questions. Thank you for listening to the podcast. So you're telling us thanks, but then it allows me to say, hey, thank you, because if we didn't have your questions, we wouldn't have listeners, which means we wouldn't have a podcast. So, man, God bless you guys. And thank you for the ton of questions that we've got. Ian hasn't sent any to me yet, which is good. I like to be fresh.
I just printed them out. We've been getting them every day, getting new questions. So I didn't really review them. I just printed them out, and I saw some of them. Most of them I saw seemed good, so I was like, let's get to them. But before we do, there's actually a few things I want to hit. I want to talk a little bit actually about the podcast growth, which we'll get into. But the first thing that I thought was extremely important that we talk about and that I get your comment on, you guys who follow us on social media, I know most of you guys who listen to the podcast aren't on social media, but for those of you who are, you've probably seen this. Sarah Adams, who has been on the show and has really, I think it's safe to say, Tanto follows Benghazi and like really what's going on with the terrorists involved in Benghazi more than anyone, right? Is there anyone who follows it more than her?
No, that's what she did, but that's what her job was at the agency. That's what a targeter does. They hunt people down. They may not execute the action to go get them, but she's the one that finds them. And what I see is she's just still doing her job. And that's why she was probably the best targeter. Sorry, all you agency people, she was probably the best targeter there. And you let her go because she decided to side with us. And which correctly she should have, and Sarah's a smart person with common sense. So, but I feel bad for you terrorists. Sarah's like a pit bull. She's gonna bite and hold on, and she's gonna find all you motherfuckers. Obviously, you ain't going no. And she's doing it again. Now it's just hard to find people to action on these guys or action these guys, which means go get them or go kill them.
She's been on top of all that. So before any news source even reported on this, I saw it from her. And that's why I put it up from her, and it got a lot of traction. So I'll just read it for those of you, once again, who aren't on social media, who don't see this stuff. She said to us, in the last 24 hours, this was on July 12th, so this was probably July 11th that happened. Authorities at the Istanbul Airport in Turkey detained, then deported Ziad Balaam, one of the most notorious terrorists from the 2012 Benghazi attacks on the U.S. mission and CIA annex in Benghazi. The U.S. government must ensure that Ziad stays detained now in Libya, as he must face trial for his crimes. And then I saw, Jeremy Mitchell and other people associated with you are asking people to call their congressman. I think just like you, I'm always skeptical of, if there's no political motive, are they really actually going to do anything? But I think people want to hear your comment on this, because even though in the mainstream media, Benghazi has been forgotten, there's plenty of people who have not forgotten it. And there's still people being captured who were responsible for what happened that night.
And as far as the media goes, their media's terrible. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to report on it. Because most of the media, again, is extremely left, which is terrible.
But even right-wing media, I would say, is going to report on it because it's just not the flavor of a month or year or whatever.
And you're right. And Fox News ain't going to report on it because it has nothing to do with Trump and how awesome Trump is. And Newsweek is not going to report on it because it has nothing to do with, unless Trump was going to actually go get and pick him up, they'll report on it then. But if it has nothing to do with Trump, well, they're not going to report on it as well. So, I think that's where where Sarah's with the agency. It doesn't make two shits. It doesn't make two shits to me if they report on it or not. She's doing what she needs to do to at least try to get him here. I don't think it's going to happen. I know Sarah's going to bust her ass to try to make it happen. And I hope she makes me eat crow, and she does make it happen. But buddy, I couldn't have said it better than you just said it. It's not the flavor of the month. It's not going to help anybody get elected. It's not going to help a right-wing politician get put into office. It's not going to keep a left-wing politician from not going into office. So Sarah's got her work cut out for her. But I have, I grant on my feeds, and I reposted on my stories as much as I could. I don't think it's a lost fight. It's just going to be extreme uphill battle for her. But if anybody can win that uphill battle, it's Sarah. That's what she did. I said she's a pit bull. She's not going to let it go until it kind of reminds me of Andy Dufresne at Shawshank Redemption that kept writing the state library board to give him books. Well, I'm just going to write 8 million letters a day till they answer me. Well, that's what she's going to do. She's going to keep saying, hey, congressman, hey, politicians, hey, everybody. This asshole needs to come here, and she's going to do it until it gets done. Or they tell her, stop, don't do it anymore. You're going to find some repercussions. But knowing Sarah, even if they told her that, she'd probably give them the finger and say, well, shit, I'm going to even do it more. Do I have any faith that they're going to get? No, I don't. It's not a disappointment to me because.
So then what happens to him if he's detained?
He either stays in Libya and he becomes a prisoner of them, or is he in Turkey right now? Or I haven't checked.
I think when they said Libya, because I think he's detained in Turkey. Yeah, well, he's detained now in Libya. Yeah,
in Libya, they're going to make him their own prisoner, which he'll be in their prisons forever. Which, if you've ever been near a third world prison, they're a lot worse than what we got here.
That's true.
Which is not a bad thing. They can execute him as well, depending on what they want to do, or they could charge him with something and release him, and we can do absolutely nothing about it. If he's a Libyan citizen and their host government has him, we're screwed. They have to say, hey, US, you can have him. If they don't say that US, you can have him, we can't go get him. I mean, we can do it clandestine, not saying we do that. Maybe we do. It might happen a couple of times here or there, but if their government wants them, they got them, and they can do whatever the hell they want with them. What would probably happen, and I would assume, and this depends on the president and who's the commander in chief. If they ever did release him, and this has maybe happened once or twice before, and he went back and just be a civilian, he might have an unfortunate accident and die. Maybe. That just shit happens. That's honestly, if the US is going to do anything about it, I could see that happening. And then, but there'll be no responsibility because he just had an unfortunate accident. But if he's under Libyan custody and he's in their prison, he's going to be in their prison for as long as they want. They got him. It's his. They're his. There's nobody, not the UN, not the US, can override him because he's a Libyan citizen. If he was a US citizen from Libyan descent, that's a different story. But yeah, he's there. But if he is in there, brother, I can tell you, it ain't no cakewalk. He's probably, I'm sure they're not treating him very well, and he's probably worse off there than he would be in a prison here. But I do agree with Sarah. He was a terrorist attacker. He needs to be held responsible for killing U.S. citizens, especially U.S. citizens of that command, of that high of a command with Ambassador Stevens with the State Department. And it's right to bring him here. But I don't know if his treatment honestly would be worse here. I think honestly in the U.S. prisons here, it'd probably be treated better than he would in a Libyan prison. So whatever happens though, I appreciate Sarah still staying on top of it, because if she hasn't, obviously this administration and even the past administration, like Trump or not, he didn't stay on top of it either. So at least somebody's still trying to hold people accountable for the attack. And as you've seen from her books and her posts and coming on our show, there is a hell of a lot of people that are responsible. Some have died, but there's still many more out there that we should be going after. And she's finding them on, she's just finding them on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how pathetic our government agencies are right now, is that Sarah's finding them as a civilian just on social media, just by doing legwork. And they're not finding one damn terrorist out there, at least one's responsible. And that may just be because they don't care, because it was, hey, we didn't put the agency in a good light, so we're not going to go after those terrorists, which is a shitty way of doing your job, agency and government. But that's probably why they don't go after them. But Sarah will, and Sarah will continue to find them all. She will find guarantee before she is dead, she will find every terrorist that attacked us, because she is that good.
So, yeah, I was gonna say really quick, before I even ask my question, if you could move the mic a little closer to you, because I could tell you're very.
Is it very close? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're supposed to be close to the mic. But anyway, what I was going to ask you is, this might be a really stupid question because there were so many people involved in Benghazi. But when you see the picture of this guy, is there by any chance, do you recognize the guy? I mean, there's so many people involved.
No, everything that I saw, it was under night vision for the most part. When we were at the consulate and it was all lit up, it's still very hard to unless you're going to a room and you're 5 foot away from them and it's in the room is lit up. It's hard to tell facial features from those distances and from moving so fast. So it is. But no, but even just knowing, and some of those guys I recognize because they were 17th Feb and 17th Feb Mars Brigade guys. And I'd been around him before. So, oh yeah, shit. I didn't know he was a terrorist. Well, there you go. That guy though, I didn't recognize him personally recognize him. All I recognized was from some of the mug shots of when I was more involved politically with Benghazi and bringing people held accountable to the table. There are certain pictures that I would see, or somebody would give me, hey, do you know this guy? Do you seen this guy? And I did remember that face from some of those. It was like doing a photo shoot. I mean, doing a lineup, when you get a criminal lineup, it was like that. But I don't remember him on that battlefield, but I didn't really see faces. And I think that has a lot to do with training too. You're always taught to shoot targets that are inanimate. And I think that gets ingrained in your head a little bit. So people don't, when you're shooting some, at least in my opinion, unless it's close distance and you can actually see their facial features because you're so close and the room's lit up, maybe you're not wearing night vision at distances like that. To me, they just look like silhouettes. Just like a range, like a range silhouette. So yeah, no, it's not a stupid question at all, but it's not.
No, I'm curious because because Sarah also posted more than just like one photo of the guys, quite a few.
Yeah, she did.
And yeah, the other thing I was going to get to before we get to questions, because I used to do this on like the early episodes and we just haven't had time to do it. And man, so the way Simplecast works, which we're primarily audio platform. I mean, we've been doing better on YouTube. We just exceeded 2,500 subscribers on YouTube.
No way. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But we're still, miles and miles ahead audio platform. I'd say 99%, like literally 99% of you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts, because I see all of that through Simplecast. They give me all the stats.
That's awesome too, though. That's
so better. I downloaded all the stats and I haven't done this in a while. And I remember originally we're like, man, we're being listened to in a lot of countries. I have 4 pages of countries, like in small print, that listen to the show. So I'll just give you a few of the top ones. And I'm not surprised by the top ones, to be honest. But we're listened to in practically every country. There's really not a country not listed on here. Maybe a handful, but I mean, if you, because they show you the map and they show you colored in where we have listeners. So
Did you just use use a double negative, dude? You did. I caught it.
What did I say?
You're not a country that's not listed on here. Is that a double negative?
So then you are listed on. So number one, of course, is the US. That's a given. Number two, Canada, which makes sense. We've had great Canadian guests like Jeff DePazzi and Rob Furlong, and we have a big Canadian listenership. After that, we got the UK. After that, Australia, which I actually thought Australia would be higher up. There's a lot of Australian guys who have been meaning to get on here. So we'll hopefully do that as well. Germany next, the Netherlands, India, Puerto Rico's on here, though it's not technically a country, but it's part of the US. Sweden, Spain, Mexico. I could go on, but I mean, those are our top countries. And then as for our top states, some of these are probably surprising. I'll start with number one state of Battleline podcast listeners is Texas. Number two, California. Number three, but large population. You got to throw that in there, I feel like. Number three, Florida. Number four, Illinois, which you're not surprised by. Illinois.
Chicago's all left, but outside, once you get outside Chicago, dude, that's that's just rural America right there. It's for people.
We're also not political. I feel, if we were a right-wing podcast, I'd feel different. But Ohio, number 5, New York, number 6, Georgia, number 7, Pennsylvania, number 8, Tennessee, number 9, and then North Carolina. And then it goes on, man. I mean, but we have listeners in every single state. It's funny when you look at it, though, because like we have more listeners in Alaska and Hawaii than Maine or DC. DC's at the bottom of the list, right above Maine. North Dakota, Vermont. So no one is listening to us in those. Practically no one.
North Dakota? What? Come on.
Yeah, North Dakota, we've got practically no one, man.
Oh, that's terrible. What's going on?
We haven't even exceeded 1,000 plays in North Dakota. So
that's the other states, or DC, of course not, man. As much as I bash and hate, and that's a strong word, but I really do hate politicians. That doesn't surprise me in DC. But that's still cool, though. I mean, those sort of spots and ads, those additions of states that I would think we wouldn't, like Illinois. I mean, it is rural outside Chicago, but being one of the top states, it still is kind of surprising for me. And and I even Pennsylvania. Really, Pennsylvania?
I do, because I can tell you Pennsylvania, I mean, is big for this area, is big with shooters, I could tell you. Because if you live around here, like New York, and you want to go to a range within driving distance where you could shoot anything, right now, Pennsylvania is still like that.
Wow.
Because I've been to ranges in Pennsylvania, like in the Poconos, and there's a lot more you could do than a range in New York or New Jersey, and God forbid Connecticut, because Connecticut is the least gun-friendly state that there is. So
all right, maybe we'll get Connecticut one of these days. And what the hell, Kansas and Nebraska? Come on. What's the deal with that? That's Nebraska. What's going on, guys?
They're like middle. It's funny. Nebraska and Kansas, as you said it, are right next to each other. But they're like middle of the road. But it's smaller population. That's why when I think of like California and New York being high, and Texas, it makes sense. Big populations.
Big populations. Yeah, that's cool. California, that's really cool. And and you're right. Aside from Southern California, you get up north or you get in the valley, it's a lot of God-fearing, gun-carrying people up there, even though they may not support. Not that I'm not shutting anybody out, but there's a lot of guns and a lot of God once you get in the valley and up in Northern California. You do.
Well, I'm also going to say, though, keep in mind, right, as someone who's been to Los Angeles and loves that whole Sunset Strip scene, and we've interviewed Corey Taylor, we've interviewed Edsel Dope, we've interviewed, a ton of different musicians on this podcast. So there's a lot of people probably who might not listen for the other stuff, but they might check out the music interviews.
And that's good stuff. Yeah.
So that's why I like keeping it versatile, because there might be people who are like, hey, guns and military stuff, it's not what I listen to, but they'll listen to a Corey Taylor interview, or they'll listen to a Josie Scott interview. And
I love those guys when they come on too. It brings, whenever we have them on, it just brings back memories, because all that music was what I listened to when I was in the Army, and that's what you listened and that was what got you through, whether it was when I was training or now I was contracting agencies. And when you're deployed, that's in your headphones, man. That's what you're listening to. You're listening to Saliva. You're listening to Slipknot. You're listening to Pillar. At least I was.
Yeah, and even though they're not, I know they're not really on your radar, but one of our most viewed shows is the one with Edsel Dope, which you weren't on. But Edsel told the story about how many guys in the Marine Corps learned to shoot listening to Dope Die Motherfucker Die. And Dope was on that infamous list of music that they played for guys being detained at Gitmo during the enhanced interrogation. And it was cool because Edsel was like, hey man, if this helps guys get the job done, I'm proud to be a part of it. And there's probably other people who had felt like, oh, I'm disgusted by it. He's not one of those people.
And that's every one of those guys, at least that I've been on. They all had a story about the military, or whether
I always try to at least throw
something.
something in there. Yeah.
Well, I think that just goes that rock music and the military, they go hand in hand, and they always have. They all. I mean, look at Elvis. Elvis joined the Army, and we're going way back, and he was a bit risque at that time, but Elvis music and the military went hand in hand. And I don't think it's changed throughout, and it shouldn't, because that stuff, some of those lyrics, a lot of them, and even some are directed directly towards guys in the military, like a lot of Five Finger Death Punch songs are.
Oh yeah. And we've had Chris Kale on the podcast from SHOT Show, even though it was only 5 minutes, but yeah.
I'd love to have him back on, like a big one. But that stuff, what their verses, I think they pull a lot of that from being around guys with post-traumatic stress, or have been through combat, or have, they're a little worried. It's their first deployment, and they write those songs of what they see. And so when you hear it, it's not just a song, it's like you relive something that you went through overseas, and they capture it so well. That I just Battleline and Battleline, Battleborn and Frontline. It wasn't the names of the songs that I wanted to make that's why I did Battleline. It was the lyrics. It was like, holy shit, this is something I went through in Iraq. This is something I went through every day before I got up to go out on an op. It was like these lyrics were what was perfect. And that's why I love the rock music scene, is because they seem to get, whether they're doing it intentionally or not, Ian, they do get it, where guys that have been in the military, like, holy shit, it puts them back in a place when they were deployed just by their lyrics. They're able to get it right. So man, I love that we have the rock guys on. I'll be honest, I enjoy a lot of those more so than some of the veteran ones we have on, just because they're real. The guys that we've had on they're just real dudes. And I love just real fucking dudes. And
by the way,
rock singers are.
And I've wanted to have people from other genres on. I mean, I know we've had Ryan Weaver on as country artist, but any country art, I mean, I'm down to have anyone on. I wanted to have, I mean, I am a huge fan of the rapper Cannabis. And when you were talking about the Elvis thing, Cannabis left hip hop to join the Army. So I've reached out to him, but he charges like several $1,000 per interview. And it was like, I mean, we've never paid anyone for an interview. And you know, it's funny though, I will tell you this, man, on that subject, it does suck when you hear that type of stuff. But if I'm a fan of an artist, even if they blow off coming on the podcast, like I'm not the type of guy who's going to be like, I'm not going to listen to this again, because if I enjoy your music, I enjoy your, like, I would love to get Dino Cazares from Fear Factory on the podcast. Kind of blew us off, as I've told you, but dude, I'm a fan regardless. Even if you're like, go fuck yourself, I'm not coming on. I'm that type. Because I know people who will be like, I'm not listening to this band anymore. I can't do that, man. If I love your music, I love your music, and I'll still go out to your concerts and all that. It'd be cooler if you'd come on the show, but so be it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you like your, I don't know, Dean. So I hate to knock you down a few pegs, Dean. I don't know your music, but so I don't know why you blow us off, but. Yeah, music's one thing, and the same thing. There's like Rage Against. I love Rage Against the Machine, but they were totally anti. That was it was like hypocritical, and people that were on the left could, when we were serving, they would hit us military. Oh, you guys love Rage Against the Machine, but they're totally anti-war. It's like, so what? It made me want to go kick in a fucking door. I love their music, you know, even though they're extremely so. But
it's the best example of this. I have to tell you that I always think of. I don't know if you know this, because people from New Jersey certainly know this. Chris Christie is a diehard Bruce Springsteen fan. The guy goes to every single concert. No, but here's the thing. He's literally been at concerts where Bruce Springsteen will be on stage and be like, I think your governor is a giant piece of shit. And Chris Christie's like, yeah, Tell him, Bruce.
Okay, that's
like,
too far.
He doesn't
dude.
seem
No,
to care.
that's not what do you have any dignity? What
He
the
loves his
fuck?
music. I kind of get it though.
No.
I am the biggest Deftones fan or Guns N' Roses. If they hated me for some reason, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be able to stop being a fan, truthfully. It would definitely disappoint me a little bit, but I mean, if it's great music, I don't know. It's just how I feel, though.
And hey, we listen to the music. If you want to be a complete douchebag, go ahead and be a complete douchebag. If you make good music, I'm still going to listen to it. I think Tom Morello is the way he's
amazing.
I think fantastic guitar player, but I think he's a complete douchebag when he talks about all the.
You know what though?
No, I think, but I still love, man. He can still jam.
I think I personally though, I'll tell you this because as someone who follows music, I don't agree with him politically, but I wouldn't say it comes off as a douchebag. And for one, any interview I've ever heard him on, he's great. I think he's a really smart guy. Don't agree with his politics, but I think it's pretty cool that, and this is a fact, him and Ted Nugent still remain very close friends, although they're very diametrically opposed. Which tells me he's the type of guy who's open to hanging out or listen. He's not, gonna block you or, cancel you because he doesn't agree with your politics. So to me, I mean, personally, I hang out with tons of people who are very far left. And as long as you're not gonna not be friends with me because I don't agree with your politics, I don't know. But he doesn't come off as a dick to me.
I don't care. I know we're going off a tangent because none of us know the guy here. I'm talking shit about a guy. I don't even know the dude. I'll just come, but that's also where when you go in interviews, you got to watch what you say. Same way. People have, man, dude, I didn't like you when I saw you on that interview. Why? Well, you were a douchebag. And I look at the interviews like, well, yeah, I kind of was. It's not really me, but you just have those days. But what I saw, you can be anti-war, but I don't like
would say I'm anti-war. I would say, but aren't you anti-war in a lot of ways? I mean, like you're not one of these guys saying we need to be in Ukraine, which we might get to during the Q&A. So I don't consider you necessarily a pro-war guy. Like when I think pro-war, I think of like Donald Rumsfeld and those types of guys, and that's who I think is pro-war. It's usually a lot of guys who never served, who have never heard of a war they don't want the U.S. to be involved in.
And that's where I get. If you've never served, you can be against the war, but. There was one interview, and I've got to find, maybe I can find it, where he went way down the rabbit hole in this interview. I'm like, did you never pick up a gun and go stand on that wall, and then you can talk shit. I will. I am anti-war. I'm not a big war. I'm not a warmonger. I don't want it all, but been through it. I know what the atrocities are, not just the actual combat, but what happens to countries when there's wars in these countries and who suffers. You're watching that shit on TV. When we had who's the drummer from System of a Down? I love that.
Oh
guy.
yeah, John Dolmayan.
When he was saying, yeah, these fucking rockers go out there and they talk shit and they would pick up a gun. They have no balls, no guts at all. I honestly was going to ask. I wish I would have. I was like, dude, are you talking about Tom Morello? Because that's what I thought of. Well, he said
but also his own singer. I mean, Serge is very left wing, and he's in his family. It's his brother-in-law. But I did ask him during the first interview. I was like, is politics the reason why you guys haven't played shows? And that remember, that's the thing that got picked up everywhere, like that whole conversation. Yeah. And he did say to me, he's like, no, I could have a conversation with Serge and say that I support Trump or something, and he supports. He's like, and we walk away from it. We might not agree, but we're both adults. He's like, that has nothing to do with it. And he said it has to do with the fact that this guy doesn't want to tour. He doesn't want to do shows. He doesn't want to do new music, and the rest of us do. And I mean, that's how it should be for adults. I think if you are separating yourself from family or friends because they don't agree with you politically, you got a problem. That's my opinion.
If you're all I'm getting is if you're an artist or you're a sports figure and you want to talk about military or war, don't go down a rabbit hole. You can be against it. I completely agree. I got you, man. I feel that way, but don't actually start to get in detail of why and how I get it. The atrocities and all that when you've never fucking seen it. And now you're the spokesperson out there bashing against wars, because it doesn't get to the politicians. It honestly gets to the guys, and it sure as hell doesn't help our morale. I know it doesn't, and it pisses me off. I'm not going to go tell him how to play his guitar. I'm not going to go tell him how to fight. Hey, this is how you need to run a band. Oh, you're you're an expert at that. You're not here in this realm. You're against it. Good. Let's leave it at that. Let's not go any farther than that. And I know I wish I could remember the dang specific interview so I give an example, but we're going down a rabbit hole anyway. But that's where I had issues with not just him but others when they speak out against the wars. I get it, man. War's awful. War's hell. I've seen people die. My friends have died in front of my face, but say you're against it and leave it at that. Don't go any farther than that to make some political fucking dynamic statement, because you haven't walked in those shoes to be able to do that. I think you do have to. In my opinion, you have to walk in those shoes to make a dynamic statement about wars and battles. And if you have and you want to talk shit, hey, dude, I get it. You seen your buddies die. Pat Tillman's brother can talk shit about the Rangers. I don't agree with what he says, but he can talk. He was there, man. He was a Ranger. He was winning war. Hey, man, you were there, and you lost your brother to a friendly fire incident. I don't agree with your words. I don't like what you're saying, some of the stuff, but I'm not going to rein you back in because you're there, buddy. And you served at a Ranger regiment. You know what it took. Does that mean? I guess I'm going too far, man, into it. But let's get on to questions.
Yeah, no, we'll get to questions. So before we do, I do want to talk about actually some of our great sponsors. Once again, Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with every pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout all 50 states, but you'll get the best deal through us when you go to fsm.com and you use the promo code Battleline. Once again, fsm.com, use the promo code Battleline, only available to listeners of the Battleline podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Kris Paronto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline podcast. Also, we got to talk about the best night vision out there, which is Photonis Defense. Now you can have the superpower to see in the dark with the Viper Binocular Night Vision System by Photonis Defense. They are the global leader in night vision solutions, providing more high-quality night vision capabilities than anyone. Military, law enforcement, and public safety end users utilize Photonis Defense solutions to give them the edge at night in tactical situations and rescue operations. Hunters, shooters, boaters, and enthusiasts can rely on the Photonis Defense Viper Binocular to become masters of darkness. The new Viper Binocular system carries the same features and benefits as the Photonis Defense Viper Monocular with a ruggedized body and harnesses the power of the Echo Intensifier tubes, giving you sharper images, reduced halo, and industry-leading ultra-fast auto-gating across the range of the dynamic operating conditions. Visit photonisdefense.com for more information or look for Photonis Defense product options from your night vision dealer. All right, with that, we've got plenty of emails to get to, man.
Hey, you just did that in one breath too? Did you know, guys, that he did both those reads in one fucking breath? That's pretty impressive, man.
I've been doing this forever.
Yeah.
I
So
am
okay,
having a drink now.
All right, I'm getting all my going down the rabbit hole talks out. They're not going to happen again during the questions.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, we've got. I was going to say, I feel like Alex Jones though, when he's like has all these papers like textbook size, and he's like, "You think I can cover all of this? These people are offshore." We've got like tons of emails. We'll get to what we can, man. I'm shuffling them because I'm just going to put them in random order, and what we get to, we get to. We'll see how it goes. But before actually I do a question, I'm going to give you this one thing because it was a comment on Facebook and it made me laugh more than any of the questions. So I was like, let's put this up.
Yeah.
So I did that Badass Females Instagram clip.
Yeah.
Remember? And a guy that you apparently know, it definitely sounds like you know, Joseph Madonna commented on it.
Well, yeah, he's a Marine cop. He's a Marine cop. I think he's great, but yeah, he's from Chicago. He comes to clean. Yeah, what the hell that?
So what he wrote here is, and the reason I mentioned this, the Badass Females clip, is because he wrote, I've personally witnessed Christian Paronto's feminine side. He enlightened me a couple years ago about White Claw. I asked him, what the fuck is that? he somewhat explained, and I told him I drink Heineken if he's reading this. He knows our exact conversation we had at the compound during the vehicle defense training. In fact, if I search deep into my phone, it was all video recorded. Funny. I'm a Marine, but I still wear Safi Ranger panties. And I was like, I got to read this on air. So.
Yeah, Joseph, he's so full of shit. Every time they do something they couldn't do it, or they could do a drill and they would half-ass it. I would always say that they were drinking White Claw. You guys gonna go get a White Claw after class? And then he just started giving me shit. It was funny. But yeah, I remember that the video too. I was being facetious. I was being funny. I don't drink that shit and I don't wear tight. I think it was a class when Rudy Reyes came through too.
Nice.
Rudy, good guy.
Gotta get him back on.
Yeah,
too.
and you know Rudy loves his stretchy tight pants. So I think I
does.
was giving Rudy shit about hey, did some White Claw come with those pants you're wearing today, there, Rudes? And then Joseph, of course, he's got to get his 2 cents in there. But Rudy being Marine, Joseph was a Marine as well. Then they got after it. But that's what makes the Chicago classes so fun. Just those banters. And of course, my last Chicago class. Thanks, Joseph. Thanks for making me laugh. That was funny, guy. He is. It's hilarious. But this is what I did in the last Chicago class. Is we're doing IMTs and which individual movement techniques. So they're doing low crawling, high crawling, and so forth. And I had this guy going through, and when you low crawl, your ass wants to come up. So think of it, you're crawling on your belly, and it starts to hurt. So you bring your ass up, and this is the kind of courses that we have. You know, it was during Pride Month, and I said, "Hey, brother, and if you want to beat, I don't give a shit. You'll beat this out." But it was Ralph, a guy named Ralph. That's come through a ton of courses. He always gives me shit because I love him. He's tremendous. He has half a hand and he comes through my courses. He's fucking badass. But he didn't want to low crawl. So his chest is down, his body's up in the air, so his ass is up in the air. And I said, Ralph, I know this is Pride Month, but get your fucking ass down, bro. And everybody just busted up laughing. But that's the kind of courses we have. I wish Joseph would have been there because he would have thrown his 2 cents in on that. But that's how it is. So the White Claw comment, yeah.
That's
and
funny.
I don't drink White Claw. And
You know what's funny now that you mention it, though? I will tell you, it's no longer Pride Month. But if I were to open up this window, we have a giant rainbow flag outside of my apartment because I told you my landlord's 2 gay dudes, but they're great, man. I love them, great guys. But yeah, then and in the backyard, you got like tons of rainbow flags. It's all over the place. But
I don't
care.
I don't be gay. What's
No,
really?
I have no issue, dude. If I wouldn't live here otherwise. I love these.
I know,
things.
but it's like, what's with all the flags, man? Who gives a shit? You like each other. You like. We went to talk about Disney. Who gives a shit? There's Gabriel Disney before. There was always Pride at Disney. Whatever the wokeness.
I think Pride at Disney has been a thing for a long, long time.
I was going to say, who gives a shit now? Now I think it's more of a, hey, look at me. I don't think it's that, hey, we're gay and we love each other. It's like, hey, we're gay. Look at me. I'm different. That's how I see it. And I was like, take your flag. I don't care. Take your fucking flags down. I don't. Or if you want to, fine, put them up. But all you're doing is bringing attention to yourself. And that's why people think you're narcissists.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't
I personally,
you think?
I don't care one way or the other. I mean, if I did, I wouldn't live here.
Yeah.
I also feel differently about the pride flag than the transgender light blue pink flag. I think there's a big
There's another flag.
You've seen it. You've seen the other flag with the triangle. You know which one I'm talking about.
Let me look. I don't remember.
But anyway, I mean, that flag I think represents something completely different than the gay pride flag. I mean, we're getting off on a tangent.
Yeah, I know. We got to.
You want me to get to? Let's get to emails because there's plenty of emails, and we're never going to get to any of these. So let's do it. So first email here. Hey, Kris and team, I'm interested to know what your take is on a fitness question. I've torn the plater muscle. Am I saying that correct?
Probably patella.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But that's a patella tendon. I don't know what a plater muscle is, but there's a patella tendon.
But I'm not good with anatomy necessarily. I should.
Sorry, man.
On my right foot, making walking more than a mile painful and taking sprinting, jumping, running completely out of the question. I've not attempted swimming yet. While I wait for surgery evaluation, what fitness regimen would you recommend for weight loss now that most cardio is off the table? Love what you do. God bless. And that's Thomas in Minneapolis.
Yeah, Thomas first, and Ian can answer this real well, being he's a certified personal trainer. He knows this shit just as well, if not better than me. But first get your therapist and ask them, what can I do? You have to. You do what your therapist says. But if your therapist says you can do something, then you can. And sometimes it's a mental block where you think you can't. But that was my first recommendation. That's what I did. It's like, hey, again, to my physical therapist and the doctor that did the surgery on my knee. And I said, what can I do at this point? And they gave me a list. As far as cardio goes, it's tough. If you can't move and your leg doesn't work, your feet don't work, and you can't get on a bike. The only thing I think of is get on a bike, but you got to ask your physical therapist. You got to ask your healthcare professional. You really do. And they will give you a list of stuff you can do. But what I did when I was laid up and I couldn't do any cardio at all, I watched what I ate. So, because you can go down that rabbit hole and eat eating bonbons and ho-hos like a fat girl on a couch. You can, or a fat dude on a couch, whatever your personal preferences are. I don't care, but you can let yourself get way out of shape. So you got to watch what you eat. And then also I would sit in my bed and I'd do 1,000 crunches a day. I didn't do them in a row. I would just sit there because I couldn't move. I couldn't do shit. I couldn't, it was hard enough just to even get out of bed to go take a crap. So I just do 1,000 crunches a day. But biggest thing is get your physical therapist and say, hey, is there anything I can do that you will allow me to do at this point as far as cardio? And they will tell you, and they'll give you workouts. But hey, man, if you're in bed and you're laying back, how do you do crunches? Well, on your back. That's where you're at, watching TV, do some crunches. And eventually, as you get stronger, continue to ask your physical therapist, what can I do now? And that's what I did. So that's my best word of advice. And then you won't risk re-injury because you're staying within whatever medical guidelines that you need to stay in based off what your injury and your surgery and your recovery is. They know that, but you got to ask them, bud.
Cool. Yeah. Sounds good to me. All right. This next one is super quick. Kris, is our military prepared for China? And that's from Bob in Dayton, Ohio.
I don't know how good China's military is. So that's a hard question to answer. Do I think our
I feel like the
military
stuff you see on Twitter is all them marching, and they do like these really elaborate marches, but it's like, does that have anything to do with war?
Yeah, I mean,
don't know.
yeah, if we're going to go against them on a freaking drilling ceremony, we're going to lose, man.
Yeah.
They can march. But I don't really, I know that as far as their generation fighters go, I mean, I don't know how accurate Top Gun is, but I wouldn't doubt in the world that they have the technology to make fighters that are better than ours now. So maybe that's a John Rain Waters question to him, and I hit him up and ask about the flight stuff. But just guys on the ground, I don't know. Do I think our military is as strong as it was when I was? No, I don't think it is at all. Technologically, maybe, yeah, we got some advantages there, but as far as the soldier goes, no, I don't think we're as strong. Do I think we're not as strong as China? I don't know. China, you always see that China's this big bag military. They're badasses. They're training. But I'm like, yeah, it's like, well, really, what have they done aside from post videos on social media of tanks running over protesters and and fucking them doing?
I haven't seen as many of that. I've seen a lot of the marching and all that. But I will say technologically and in terms of like infiltrating the US, right? That they're great at that.
They're great. No,
doubt.
Their intel collection services, I think, are just as good, if not better.
Also just when I'm watching a baseball game and I see an advertisement for TikTok with a US soldier being like, TikTok is great. It helps me with, getting the word out about what we do. I feel bad for that guy because he truly is like a US military veteran. It's just, you want to be like, dude, you're being used right now.
Yeah, what are you doing?
It's fine that you're on TikTok. I mean, I wouldn't be, and you are talking to military veterans, but don't do a commercial for their company.
That is terrible. I saw that. I was like, what the hell? That was a what the fuck moment. Like, what are you doing, you idiots? But technologically, they are just as good, if not superior right now than us. They are. They're really, and intel wise, they're tremendous. The only better intel service in the world is Israel. Israel has the best intel service, hands down. They're fucking hands down the best. But just boots on the ground, special ops fighting mano a mano. At least on the special ops side, I still think we can kick anybody's ass. Us and the British SAS. I really do believe that. But the big mill, I don't know. I used to be able to say, fuck no, they could never take us. It's bad enough now that I'm just going, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know their military. So I'm like, all I've seen really are the Tiananmen Square. You see that all the time. And then also the marching. They always got great marching drill and ceremony videos. So my answer is, I don't know, but it should never be, I don't know. It should be fuck no, but it's not. It's, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll get to another one here. Like I said, we got plenty of these. So this is a regular Scott Tiedman. He's written us a bunch.
Yeah. Scott's
Dear
good dude.
Kris and Ian, I recently completed active shooter classes at my place of employment. During the class, they talked about the different types of reactions people have in these situations. Some fight, some flee, and some are frozen with shock, fear, and indecision. It made me think, which one am I? So, Kris, my question is, how does someone with no military training know if they can keep their wits or will be scared shitless? Is there anything a person can do to give them better odds of staying clear-headed in high-stress situations?
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, bud. Every one of us trained until we got into the fight. None of it's not like we started fighting coming out of our room. So every one of us has been that, hey, can I really handle myself? The more training that you go through, the better prepared you are. And then war game with yourself. Go through scenarios in your head. Like, hey, what if I get attacked here? What am I going to do? If you're doing that, you're maintaining what we call the initiative, which means you're going to be ahead of the ball game. You're taking the fight to the enemy mentally. And by preparing yourself mentally, then you're not going to be scared. You're not going to be frozen. You're not going to worry when something happens because you've gone through it mentally in your head. And then maybe you've trained as well for different scenarios in your head. So when it happens, you're like, oh, I know what to do. Or at least I know options that I can go on. And that's through the training. And then also, like I said, going through different scenarios in your head. And it doesn't have to be at the range. It can be just when you're sitting on your bed. I get that. What if somebody breaks in my house? Where's my gun? What am I going to do? I've been through my head. I'm prepared for it. Always be prepared. Like the good boy, like the Boy Scout, be prepared. And being prepared mentally is 90%. I was 90%. It's 50% of the battle. The other 50 is being prepared physically. So by always going through scenarios and going through training will keep you prepared. And then you'll find out. Hopefully, God forbid you do, but sometimes you don't know until you know. And the best case, the way to do it, though, is to continue your training and go through stress-filled training, physically stressed training, and then also mentally stressed training. Anything that you have to do under some sort of form of duress, whether it's physical duress or mental duress, will prepare you mentally for that oh shit moment. And we all had to do that. Every one of us that has been in combat, we weren't in combat till we got in combat. So we never knew until we knew. And when we were able to succeed in combat, I attributed that to all the training and then also the scenarios and then also the what if going through scenarios in my head and being prepared and going through different options of what I would do if this happened. So that's all you can do, bud. That's it.
Well said, man. All right. This is more of like a fun one. This is from Steve Sanders. Kris.
Sandman.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you know.
Yeah, Sandman.
Kris, what's your most hated chore around the house that Tanya has to nag you about?
My most, oh, you know what? It's not a house chore, bud. It's actually cleaning my guns. So when I go to the range and I have to come back, I'll leave my guns out like in the living room because if I don't see them, I won't clean them. And like I have one that's been in my living room that I shot 2 weeks ago that I'm like, I'm going to clean that today. And I still haven't cleaned it yet. She's like, are you going to clean this gun? Yeah, I will. Well, can you get out of the living room? Well, if I get out of the living room, I won't know it's there. And then I never will clean it. So that's, I think, the biggest pet peeve she has is that I leave my guns out where I can see them. And they're unloaded for all you freaking trollers out there. There's no ammo near them. It's nothing like that. They're in a case and they sit out in the living room because if I see it, I hate cleaning my guns, but if I see it every day, I'm going to eventually do it. So that is a pet peeve of my wife's, but I don't say that's a house chore pet peeve. The other pet peeve of a house chore I have is, even though I'm the only one that does it in the house, I clean the showers. Nobody else in the damn house will clean the showers except me. So there you go. That's a house chore.
I couldn't tell you the last time I cleaned my one gun that I have, but as you know, I rarely shoot. It's just not like a regular part of my life. Yeah. So I couldn't tell you I really couldn't. This one is from Brian. Kris. Oh, this is definitely someone you know because it says Brian Smith here, right? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, long time. If it's the same guy I'm thinking of.
Well, he says, Kris, who was your favorite roommate in McLean, Virginia, while on VIP family protection assignment?
Brian was my New York cop. Whenever I did executive protection in New York City, I can't carry. He was a cop at the waterfront there up in Manhattan. So I would call him like, Brian, hey, I'm coming in with a client. I need a gun. I need somebody armed. So he would be I'd meet him at Madison Square Garden and we'd link up And then he was, because he could carry, he was a law enforcement in New York
Yeah.
City. He could carry it. He was my driver. And then I would have my client there. So yeah, Brian's good. Holy shit.
Dude, did
And
you? I know you don't go to like events and stuff, but being you went to New York so often, did you at least ever go to like a Ranger or Nick game talking about?
I
Madison
didn't,
Square
no, I didn't get a
Garden?
chance. I didn't get a
Oh,
chance
man.
to go. Oh, I know. I honestly, I didn't.
All that stuff
I-
is it's like that. To me, that's like a New York experience thing you got to do.
You know what I did do? I do enjoy theater, dude. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
That's weird. I went to the shows, on what's the
Broadway.
Broadway. One of my favorite one was that I love doing. I did. That's my kind of thing. The sport events are cool. I did, but I that's one thing people don't think. I'd rather go to a Broadway show. I love that. And the best one I saw, to be honest with you, was that South Park guys made. It was awesome. It was
Book of
hilarious.
Mormon. I never
Oh
saw
yeah, it
that
was
one.
freaking hilarious. I love that. So that's when I was in New York City. That's the kind of stuff I would go do, is go see shows. I saw the Blue Man Group in some dungeon in out in Brooklyn.
I feel like now they're strictly Vegas, those guys.
yeah,
And I think truthfully, this is going to sound very New York elitist to me, but I don't give a shit. But I think anything that's like had its run in New York, it eventually goes to Vegas. When New Yorkers are like, all right, we've seen this enough.
No, you're
It
right.
goes to Vegas.
No, that's
Like,
not latest.
like
You're
think
right.
of it like how Carrot Top has a show there. Carrot Top would never survive in New York. Not
No.
enough people would care. But in Vegas, he could probably sell out every night.
And like the Blue Man Group, they were funny. I
I've
wish
seen them before. Yeah.
And it was a tiny theater in some building that I like, whoa, this is wow. But they were hilarious. That's the kind of stuff I would do when I went to New York. And then I'd love the food.
The drummer, yeah, for sure. The drummer for Slaughter, the original drummer, was in Blue Man Group at one point, which would have been cool to see.
No way.
Yeah, like after, because a lot of those bands, like they're not regularly touring anymore. They're not making as much. So yeah, they go on to do different
Hilarious.
things. But anyway.
Wait, what did he ask though? I didn't even get to his question.
Oh, if you were his favorite VIP.
Oh,
that
no,
was
he wasn't.
it. It was-
I didn't have a favorite roommate. Y'all were fucking annoying, dude.
He
Everyone
said,
yeah.
favorite roommate, right? Yeah.
My favorite roommate on the VIP on the executive protection tour there in McLean in Northern Virginia. None of you were. Y'all annoyed the living shit out of me. So there, you all were at the same level. You all were at dirtbag level. That was it. No, I love you, Brian, but still, you all were at dirtbag level. I didn't like any of them.
All right, this is definitely a different one. So this is Reggie. He goes by Reggie Monster on here. What is your favorite Bible verse, and what does it mean to you personally?
Oh, well, John 15:13, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's on everything I have. I mean, shit, I even got a hat up here. My John 15:13 hat somewhere up there on that bookcase. But yeah, I paraphrase it. I know I always say it wrong, but basically it's about sacrifice, giving yourself up for your brother. You're willing to give your life for someone else. Love is no greater than this, that a man lay down life for his friend. That's not the exact. I know if you read it, it's a little word, a little different, but that's how I remember it. And that is the military. That's a credo. If you go to the Texas A&M Corps, Texas A&M has the Corps of Cadets. That's what's up on their moniker, John 15:13. At many military bases you go to, that's what you'll see. You'll see Psalm 91 as well, with walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and that's a great one as well. But the John 15:13 is mine, because that is ultimately giving your life for your brother. And that's what I believe, if you're going to join, especially the special operations community, that has to be the forefront. Not that, hey, I'm going to make it out of here alive. I got to make sure my team makes it out of here alive. So that is it by far. Easy, too easy. Good question. And that's it. That's an easy one, man. Yeah. John 15:13, definitely.
All right. And this is from Rob Jagger. Kris, I met you a few weeks back at Disney World. I didn't want to ask you this at the time due to you spending time with your family and me with mine, but how has your family adapted to and dealt with the reality of what happened on September 11th, 2012, and seeing how it was shared on the big screen?
My kids were little at that time. My 18-year-old, he was 8. When was it? 7? It was 2016 it came out. So yeah, he was 11, actually, 10 or 11. My daughter, she was like 6. My little guy, he was 1. So they didn't know. And honestly, they know now. And I don't think it's become much of an adjustment for them, because they were so little and they went through a lot of the highs and lows when I wasn't around. Well, I went through a lot of the highs and lows and they weren't around, because I divorced my wife for 3 years of when the movie came out. So early on it was tough because I had to get to know them again and I'm daddy. Hey, daddy left mommy. That's if you don't think that affects your children, men, it does. Believe me, they're going to remember it. And I had to really rebuild, except for the 1-year-old, my 7 and my 18-year-old now, my 14-year-old, I had to rebuild those bridges with them. But now that we have, and now that they can see that mom and daddy are there, and then I had to, when we reconciled back together, Tanya and I, there was always that worry that is daddy going to leave again? Because I was always leaving on deployment. Then I left the family by being a dirtbag husband. We got divorced. So it was now that we've gotten through those humps where I had to rebuild that relationship and rebuild that trust with my kids, that dad's not going nowhere again. He's done with doing all that stupid shit. He's done deploying. And now they see, me and Tanya get along. Of course, you see it. We get along. We love each other. We get along extremely well. We're in a good place. So it was all down to, honestly, it comes all down to how I acted. If I felt good and I wanted to be at home, then they saw that. If I was in a terrible mood and I didn't want to be at home, they saw that as well. And whenever a father leaves their children, they worry. And when you come back, I expected them to accept me back right away because, yeah, dad's back. I fixed it. Kids don't do that. Kids are like, dad, I don't know. You left us once already. Are you going to do it again? So that was difficult. And it took me a couple of years, almost 3 years to rebuild that. Now we're at a point now where the kids are like, shit, dad, when are you leaving again? you're home too. No, it's just like, I'm just normal dad, normal father. And it's not the kids, believe me, your kids keep you humble. Dad's nobody. Dad's nothing. Dad's dad.
I saw such a great meme the other day.
Yeah,
it was I was showing it to I was showing it to my boss Adam. It relates to what you're saying because my boss Adam is the biggest Slayer fan. He's got like Slayer license plates. He's got Slayer tattoos. But there's a photo of Tom Araya from Slayer at the Grammy Awards with his family, and he's got the horns up, and his teenage daughter is like rolling her eyes, like next to his wife. You've seen that, and it's like even if you're the front man of Slayer, your teenage daughter is still gonna think you're lame.
Exactly. That sums it up right there. Is what point I'm at in my life with my teenagers. But I know.
If you can find that, by the way, if you can find that meme, Harold, put that up on the screen, and let's make that a short if we can.
Yeah, that's hilarious, man. But they do know, and I know they're proud of what I've done, and they do know the Ranger. They understand that now, especially my older two. Like, yeah, Rangers. They respect it, even though my daughter, she would still roll her eyes. Dad, hero, whatever. Yeah, call him. My dad is. It's just my dad. He keeps telling me to clean my room, but I know they know because my son's all his sports numbers in high school were 13. That's how I knew that. Okay, we're getting along. He understands because all his numbers. He didn't have to tell me anything. And my daughter, she cares. She sees me. I cry every time I see 13 hours. At the end, for some reason, when Jack's on the phone calling, I lose it every time. And I know she was caring because she goes, "Why do you watch this if it makes you cry?" And it wasn't a bad thing. She just was honestly, I think, just cared. She cared, and she just couldn't understand why I still watched it, even though it hurt. Which said a lot, which made me feel good too. I know I think she was really caring, like, Dad, I don't want you to feel like that anymore. So we're in a great place now, but it did take time to rebuild. And as a father, you have to be there. I was finally home more. That's why don't do as much speaking as I don't travel to do a lot of shit anymore, because dads need to be around for their kids, or you're not going to have that relationship that you want when you get older, that you dream about having with your kids, because kids remember when you're not there. So I don't know. I guess I was wrong, but yeah, that's my answer to the question. I hope it answered it. I don't know if I did or not.
I said a lot. I think that answers it great. So this is an interesting one. I definitely have my feelings about this one. But because I read through some of them. But this is from Doug in West Virginia. Kris, where's all the media coverage of the war in Ukraine? We have thrown billions of dollars in money and equipment to this effort, but where is it going? And why is no one covering it? All other wars since Vietnam have been covered nightly on the news, but this conflict, nothing other than occasional pictures where a missile attack that hits a Ukrainian apartment building, especially with the ability to use drones to provide video and not put reporters or cameramen in harm's way. What in the wild, wild world of wars is going on here or going on there? And that's, once again, Doug in West Virginia.
Hey, give me a break. You take this one first, man.
I mean, what I was going to say, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with what's the flavor of, what they're reporting. There definitely is footage. I mean, if you go on Twitter, you're going to see footage of what's going on in Ukraine, good and bad. I mean, you're going to see stuff that makes the Ukrainian military look horrible. You're going to see stuff that makes the Russian military look horrible. People are going to have their opinions on this war, but in terms of it being reported on the nightly news, I mean, I know you never watch the news. I very rarely watch the news. I get my news from Twitter because I just know. I mean, right now, the big stories that are covered nonstop are Hunter Biden, still January 6th stuff, and, the war in Ukraine. It's unfortunately like a blurb. Why? It doesn't get ratings. I don't think it's anything more nefarious than that, because the footage is out there. I mean, if you go on Twitter and you follow the right accounts, there's people on the ground. I mean, actually, we just spoke about Sarah Adams. She has a nonprofit doing stuff in Ukraine, but people like Holly McKay, they will. I mean, right now, I believe she's pregnant. I know that she's, I think, married, right? Which congrats to her.
Congrats.
But if she wasn't, she's the type of person who'd be out there on the ground getting footage. So they are out there. But truly, whether it's Fox News, whether it's Newsmax, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, they are not. I mean, I could say this. I've done stuff with a little bit of this, but they're not in the business of like informing the public. They're in the business of like what is going to infuriate people and get ratings. And we are to blame for this, because whatever they're reporting on is what gets clicked on. So that's what the people want. That's my opinion.
I don't think it puts on the left side of the house. This war definitely doesn't put this administration in, not that they need any more help of not putting themselves in a good light, but it definitely doesn't. And I think there's a lot of shenanigans that are going on in this war. And if we have more exposure on it, then those shenanigans are going to be seen by us, and it's going to even put more people under the hot seat. So they don't want to report on it. We shouldn't be in Ukraine at all. I don't think we need to be any part of that. And my opinion, again, I don't know why. I am surprised that Fox and Newsmax don't report more on it, because I don't think
why?
This can.
Because it's not the clickbaity stuff. The clickbaity stuff is Hunter Biden, is January 6th. That's what people click on. It is. It's just that's what people care about.
You don't think, and I'm asking because to me it's surprising, wasting so much money on.
Oh, they'll report on that, but that's not what this guy's asking. He's asking, why is there no footage of the actual war? Because of course they report on that.
Man, that's still though. We're wasting a ton of money. I'm thinking here. This isn't an answer. That surprises me, because don't you think if they want to put this administration in a terrible light, the one thing they want to show is Ukrainians dying daily? Because
I don't think it would put the administration in a poor light, though, because this administration, and I don't agree with it, is dedicated to funding this with no end in sight and to save Ukrainians. So I don't think that would put them in a bad light. I mean, I think the amount of money that has been misspent and that we can't even calculate for, that does. But the war footage, I don't think that would put them in a bad light. I think it's just that people don't care about it enough.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, though. I can understand why the left doesn't want it out there, but it does. I do. I get what you're saying, dude. I agree. I understand. I agree with it. I think that if they wanted to show the atrocities, just like shit they showed in Iraq and Afghanistan all the damn time, it would have some effect on this current administration.
I think they will, as more Americans are over there, right? Because when Americans are dying, more Americans are going to care.
And maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's why. There's the answer right there. Because Americans aren't in.
I mean, that is true. How much reporting do you see of what's going on in Israel and Palestine? How much reporting do you see of even what we can know of what's going on in North Korea, which isn't much.
Brother, I think you just answered it. There it is, right there. I think really there's the answer right there, because Americans aren't dying in Ukraine, so they're not going to put footage of it. When Americans are dying, they're going to or if Americans are killing people over there, they're going to put footage. So, bro, I think that's the answer right there. I'm gonna go with that. That's what I
Yeah.
think. But
I guess partially. But and unfortunately, that may be the future because there are Americans volunteering over there. They've
Yeah,
been
there are.
volunteering for the past year, but now when you start to hear selective service and stuff going over there, things are going to heat up. It's going to get worse. I think that's plain to see. But all right, next email here. Hey Tanto, my uncle Matt Nyman was Delta Force and passed away 2 years ago. His 17-year-old son is planning on following in his footsteps by joining the military soon. If you had any advice to give him, what would it be? Love the podcast and the positivity you've spread. Thanks. And that's from Amy.
Just physically be ready. Always, if you're going to go that route, getting ready, they will get you physically ready. But if you can stay ahead of the game and be able to run 2 miles in 12 minutes and do that PT test, that always helps when you get there. When you're physically ready, it helps you mentally because you don't have to. It's one less thing you have to worry about, accomplishing. And that does put you in different categories if you're going, especially if you're going to Delta, which you're going to have to go through a pipeline, either Rangers, 82nd special ODA, one of the ODA special forces, and you have to be physically fit. So, and that's how you get rated. I'm glad it is. I love that that's still the case there. I do. So do that. The shooting, I shot a little bit growing up. I mean, I shot not a ton, not like I wasn't a big hunter, but I knew how to shoot, but I wasn't a big hunter going in. I learned how to shoot while I was in. You'll get better shooting. But if you have a little taste on that, and then just be mentally prepared, it's going to be a game. Play the game. Yeah, there's going to be times where you need to accomplish a task and you accomplish it and they smoke your ass up anyway, because they want to see if you're mentally tough. You just have to play the game. And I think that's my biggest thing is just when you go in, just whatever they tell you to do. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Roger that. And you move out with the quickness and you get it done. And they will see that. And then if your physical prowess is up there, your maxing PT test, they'll see that and you'll move up. And but I would always advise to, if you're going to go in, go to the special operations community, especially at this time with the current administration we have in. I wouldn't go in the regular army at this time. I would, but if you're going to go in special operations, they're always going to be good, brother. It's a whole different animal. But be physically and mentally ready. Just play the game. That's what I say. Play the game. Remember that. Play the game.
Yeah. How many more of these do you think we should get to? Because I know you probably got other stuff to.
Oh, we got 50.
Do
damn shit. We're already, let's how about we do? What do you think? Three
more? Yeah, that works for me. Because we got a ton. We got a lot more, and yeah, we're just not going to get to all of them. So yeah, we really appreciate all the emails. So this is from Jason. Actually, you just kind of answered this, to be honest. But maybe you could expand a little bit. In the current political climate and the way the military is going, what are your feelings on whether or not your kids want to join the military? Thanks, Jason.
I seriously, I would tell them, wait till this administration's out. I would. I think it's still honorable to serve in the military. I would tell them, I would never say don't go serve in the military. No, I think it is always honorable to serve your country. But I would wait until the next election and hopefully we get a different administration in there. If not, then ask me that again. And was it 2 years? When's the election? 2 more years?
It's going to be at the end of 2024.
Ask me that again. But on this current, I don't think you have the support. I don't think you have the backing, and I definitely know the leadership is lacking, not just within the White House, but also within the upper level. We all see that, guys. I'm not saying anything you already not seeing.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. Just down and dirty answer. Wait till the next election. Unless they want to go in special operations, then have at it. Go at it, because you will have good leaders there. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. All right. This one is from Robin, who's a regular. This was an interesting one as well. I know that you go way back with Robin.
Oh, Montgomery. Robin? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So
yeah.
Good afternoon, KP and Ian. Hope all is well with you. Thank you again for always answering my questions. I'm going to see the Sound of Freedom movie with my family this upcoming weekend. I know this movie is very important to raise awareness for human trafficking, but is also very sad and dark in nature. Have either one of you seen it? If not, are you going to see it? What are your thoughts on the movie? Thank you again, Robin.
Well, I kind of already answered mine, but you didn't. So didn't I answer?
You shook your head no.
Oh, no. I answered earlier where someone asked about the Sound of Freedom movie. Wait. No, it wasn't.
No one asked us
I did
about it.
Holy crap.
You did it on Facebook?
I did a Facebook Live.
Oh, all right.
That's okay. Yeah, I will see it. No, my son saw it. Actually, he went and saw it and said he loved it. He said it was excellent. Has faith in there, and it has and I haven't seen it. This is what
I haven't seen it. I have my opinions, but I haven't seen
but
it.
it's
My
a good
opinions
guy,
may be different than yours.
good guy, bad guy element at all. If it's good guy beating a bad guy and stopping human trafficking, yeah, honestly, that's what old crime movies used to be. Bad guy versus good guy, Dirty Harry.
Well, but it's a
Golden Gate.
documentary. It's not,
And it's still is if it's because it has that Jim, I can't pronounce his name. Caviezel.
I have no idea.
But yeah, guys, if
Can't help you there.
he was in Passion of the Christ. He's been in a ton of movies. If it is that, and I haven't seen it, but yeah, if it's good guy versus bad guy catching and destroying somebody that's a predator, a human trafficker, I'm gonna see it. I'll watch it, and I think you all should watch it. But I don't know. I haven't seen it, so it's hard for me. But if it's got God in it, it's got good guy versus bad guys. It's got faith. That's how a lot of movies were when I was growing up. That's how they were. That was good. That's what made the movies good. I'm okay with that. I got no issues with that. But I haven't seen it, so maybe if I see it and I'm missing something because I'm only going by what my son said, and then then even though I don't watch the news, I saw that something with Disney didn't want to put it out. Honestly, that makes me want to go see it even more. If Disney didn't want to put it out. But other than that, just from what I understood, go see it. Go see it, and then tell me what you think. And then tell us, say, hey, I was good, or tell hey, that sucked. Hey, let us know. I'd like to know. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give you my take on it. So, for one, I've not seen, and I haven't seen it. I've not seen like such a movement for like a movie in a very long time. I mean, like I'm not in the city, for those who don't know. I'm on Long Island, and I'm seeing like posters up everywhere. A lot of people are getting very into this. I'll be honest, my immediate reaction when I saw Mel Gibson involved, and I don't think he's involved, but I saw him endorsing it in any way. I want nothing to do with Mel Gibson. So that turns me off from seeing it. I don't think he's in the movie though, but I'm just like, if this is the guy that you want to basically get this message out there, I can't think of like a more despicable human being. Then in terms of the movie itself, I've heard mixed things, all right, because I've heard a lot of people say that a lot of it is in the conspiracy realm, QAnon stuff, and then I've heard other people I respect say that that's not the case. So I can't tell you until I see it, but what I can tell you is this. I've interviewed a lot of people who are involved in human trafficking, in combating human trafficking, and I know people involved. People like George Hand, who's former Delta Force, who we should get on the show at some time. And George will tell you himself, there is so much misinformation out there on this topic, and a lot of it is done to be over the top, and it's just not correct information. I mean, for example, I'll give you one that was huge over the past few years, and any of you active on Twitter are going to know what I'm talking about. There was that woman, Eliza Blue, who was very involved who was like the face of anti-human trafficking. And I do think there's a reason why it was a white woman, because I think people kind of gravitate towards that when usually the people human trafficked are from China, Chinese, or South America. It's not usually white women. And when she was doing interviews, as you all kind of know this, so she got very much platformed on Twitter because she became friends with Elon Musk and stuff like that. And when she was doing interviews, she never really expanded on her experience being human trafficked. Then she went on Michael Malice's show. And I'm a fan of Michael Malice. And I know Michael Malice is always like kind of fun with how he does things. But at the same point, he's a really smart guy, man. And you're not going to bullshit him. I mean, Michael Malice did investigative work going over to North Korea. He wrote that Dear Reader book. And he was asking her about being human trafficked. And she had no substance to the story. And then what came out was that YouTuber Brittany Venti did a whole and she got banned for basically exposing this woman because Elon Musk was friends with Eliza Blue, so this woman should not have been banned. She did get unbanned, but it turned out like this woman, during the time she apparently was human trafficked, was seen in rap videos and this type of thing, and it was definitely to her own accord. And then on Michael Malice, she was saying, oh, my pictures were used without permission by different sites. And Michael Malice was like, yeah, that's not what human trafficking is. Like, did you understand what? So I haven't seen the movie, but I can't think of a topic where there's been more disinformation over the past few years. And when I saw like the star of the film going on Bannon and trying to politicize this whole thing and make it like a right-wing movement, that's where like my BS detector goes up a little, but I haven't seen it yet. So I also can't give you a fair analysis. And I'm not saying I can.
Honestly, if it's movies good versus evil and the good guy wins.
You're framing like a scripted movie. It's a documentary.
I don't know. Is it?
Yes, that I know. It's a documentary.
Documentary with Jim Caviezel.
Yes, he said that after he was involved in Hollywood, he became interested in human trafficking and fighting human trafficking. Because I saw the interview with Bannon. So then, this is not a scripted movie.
Well, again,
this is a documentary.
Well, then it's a documentary. Still, good versus evil. Good guy wins. That's what movies should.
But
be.
My issue is the information out there correct? That's
I think you're reading. I think I don't know. I think you're going down.
And I'll tell you why
you're going down a rabbit hole there, dude. You're already going like
it's important though, because I think
paranoia over here.
No, but I worry about the amount of vigilantism with human trafficking, which we've seen a lot by people who have no idea about this topic, who were never involved in this topic, and they start trying to bust human traffickers. When there are people, once again, like George Hand, former Delta Force, and I know people we've had on the show too. I just can't name them offhand. I know friends of yours who have actually like been doing the work for years and actually know what is into going into basically getting these girls who were on Backpage when it was around, or these girls who were on Craigslist who have actually been human trafficked, as opposed to people who think they know what the hell they're talking about and want to be vigilantes. And I would hope this movie does not do that. That's my opinion.
I don't know if it does. All I know is my son enjoyed it. And he said it was a good movie.
And that's right. And as I've said, I've heard a lot of good stuff. I've heard a lot of bad. And when it's free, I guess maybe at some point I'll see it on TV. When I saw Mel Gibson, I was like, I don't want to be involved.
He's big anti, isn't he? He's big anti-Jew.
He's anti-Semite, anti-women, anti-black people. I mean, he's a dirtbag.
And I don't know. Mel Gibson, I have no idea Mel Gibson, but that doesn't change my opinion on anything. It's like, hey,
well, and like I said, he's not even the movie, but personally for me, when I see him endorsing this, I'm like, dude, of all people, this is who you want to endorse your film.
I don't blame you, because if Tom Morello would have endorsed it, I probably wouldn't want to go see it.
Tom Morello's not Tom Morello never. Think of the things Mel Gibson has done, though. Mel Gibson, when he got pulled over for drunk driving, what does he say to the cop? Oh, are you Jewish?
Where I'm going at here is that you're making it too. I mean, if like, dude, you don't like a guy, so I'm not going to go see something, even though he may have nothing to do with it. That's the comparison I was making.
It turned me off. It turned me off.
I was making light of the situation. I'm like, not making fun of him. Like, oh, dude, well, I'd be the same way if it was fucking the Daily Show, old Daily Show guy from South Africa. Hate everything I think he's a scumbag. But that being said, with the movie, Robin and me and Ian can both tell you, we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just do know my son liked it. And I always love the old movies of good versus evil, or even if it's a documentary, good versus evil, good wins. I love that. So I grew up on. That's super.
Yeah, it does sound like, I will say, even though I haven't seen it, you haven't seen it, it sounds like I know more about the movie. The movie is an actual study of a human trafficking case. That's what it is. The movie is someone actually being freed from human trafficking. My question would be, if you're going to do a movie on such an important subject, is all of the information accurate? I'm hearing mixed things. I haven't seen it yet.
All right, and that's important, because, or if it's not accurate, it's got to be stated that it's this. Hey, this is a what's the word I'm looking for? This is not a truth.
But that's not what they're.
Okay, that's not what
it's not being presented as. No, it's and that's the problem when you see the amount of like QAnon BS out there involved in human trafficking. From what I heard, this was made prior to the whole QAnon nonsense, but I would not want any of that in what is supposed to be a documentary film.
Do you think, though, when a film like this comes out, or something that may be spot on, because everybody is so QAnon afraid of, and QAnon
I'm not afraid of it.
They're worried that it influences everything, that the left will come in, even though it has nothing to do with it, will say, yeah, QAnon had something to do with this.
But
just
they're
to say, just to dissuade people like yourself saying,
No,
no, I'm
because
not
I
going to go
think
see it because they said QAnon. in a
no,
party.
because of
They
where
had no
they're
dreams.
advertising is they're purposely going for a super right-wing audience. That's for sure.
And that
Human trafficking is not a right-wing issue. It's not an anything issue. It's an important issue going on not just in America but throughout the world. And yeah, but once again, I haven't seen it. I'm not going to say that people should see it, but yeah, I have seen the stuff that QAnon has put out there about kids in tunnels and all this shit that never happened, that we know has never happened. You know,
one thing I do understand though about movies and making it going on a right-wing movement, 13 hours would have considered a right-wing movement because nobody on the left, even though we asked and said, I'll come on your show. We'll come on Anderson Cooper. We'll come on the Daily Show. They never wanted us on. So we had no choice but to go to the right.
True. But the movie was not a right-wing movie and that movie I've actually seen many times. There was nothing right-wing at all.
But do you think that's why they're going right? Or in fact, the first thing when they asked us, who do you want to do first? I actually picked Anderson Cooper. I was the one guy that picked Anderson. I said, I want to go on Anderson Cooper's show. Talked to him on the phone, thought he was the coolest guy in the world. I was like, dude, this dude's cool. But then once we got on Fox, the left wanted nothing to do with us. And we
but they're not going on I saw the stuff with Bannon. All right. And I've personally worked with Bannon, and Bannon's history is very questionable.
Is that the Steve Bannon?
Steve Bannon.
Yeah. I thought he was in jail.
No. So that's the thing, right? The guy has been involved. So they're going on outlets that purposely, right, pander. Like, of course it would feel differently if they went on Hannity or so. That's totally
sure.
But anyway, once again, I really can't state this enough. I haven't seen it. So I could be completely wrong. I'm just telling you why I haven't seen it.
Robin, that's your job. You need to go see it. Then we'll have you on and you can do the review. We'll do a movie review with Robin Montgomery. There you go.
All right.
We do one more.
Yeah. This person sent like 10 different questions. So I feel like I'm going to pick one, maybe I'll just go to a different question. We'll save one for another time. Let me try to find one that actually is like really good, I think.
They're all really good. We're just finding one that
some are better than others. Come on here. There was probably one that I thought was really good because I skimmed them. I'm just trying to see. There's some of these are funny. Some of these are short and funny.
How many questions do we have? You just put paper after paper.
A lot.
That's awesome.
Okay, you know
awesome. I love that.
One of this is like news kind of related. I don't know. I will go with this person who had the bunch of questions. I'll choose one because there's a whole bunch in here. I think this is a good question. This is the one I'll choose from you, Martha Hernandez. And it's for you.
Cool.
If you were asked to join another special mission unit, would you go? Oh, actually, that's not the one I wanted. I thought she was asking if you were to choose any other special operations unit, which would you choose? But that's not because.
Well, I'll just get.
Well, you can answer that. Yeah, if you were asked to join any other special mission unit, would you go? Or have you turned down any? All right, that's a good question.
No, I've never turned down any, but the one Night Stalkers, 160th Aviation Special Operations Aviation Regiment, I would have loved to have flown Little Bird helicopters. So that was my second choice coming out of Officers Canada, Green to Gold, officer training, ROTC when I did Green to Gold. First was infantry, second was aviation. So yeah, I would have loved to have been a Night Stalker. I love being a Ranger. I love doing that, but flying Little Birds for a living and being a Night Stalker pilot, that would have been freaking amazing. So there's my second choice. Definitely.
Cool. I'll ask one more because you know what? I think I have an answer to this one too. And I think it's interesting. So we'll end with this one. All right. This is from Ed Cunningham in Melbourne, Florida. What is one thing in your life, if you had another opportunity, would you do with more passion and drive? What would be the advice you would give others after that second opportunity? That's like a very spacey question, but I like it.
I love the way my life has turned out. I don't have any regrets or it's like, man, I wish I would have done this or it happened as it should. But I'm not going to give you a vanilla answer. I'll give you an answer. When I was at Dixie Junior College, we were really good. One of the best junior colleges in the nation. We were tremendous. Because we all had a bunch of guys that couldn't pass college. So we had all these 5-star athletes that played at the JC to get our grades up so we could go play Division I football. I had the opportunity to go play Division I football at Brigham Young University and the University of South Carolina. And I turned it down because my dad got a job at Mesa as the head football coach, which was a lot smaller college, at Mesa College. Not saying it was, but I said, well, family, my dad wants me to come play for him. I'll go play with him. Nothing against my father. No, I'm glad it was how it should happen. But looking back on it now, I would have loved to experience Division I football at that level, playing for the Gamecocks or playing for Brigham Young in a 70,000 seat stadium. That would have been cool. So if looking back now, coming out, and I was a pretty good junior college football player. I actually was an All-American at my JC. And because we were so good, we got looked at by all these D1 schools to come pick us. And I probably would have. If my dad didn't get that job at Mesa, I would have went to Brigham Young or University of South Carolina. And they had a quarterback at both colleges. BYU is a football mecca for quarterbacks. I mean, Steve Young, Jim McMahon, Robbie Bosco, Heisman Trophy winners. Being a wide receiver there would have been a hell of a lot of fun. University of South Carolina had a guy named Steve Tannehill, and if you follow football, he was a big time Division I quarterback coach, quarterback for football, Division I. So that would have been cool. That would have been cool playing in those stadiums. So if that's anything, it's not a regret, but it's something I would have done differently if my dad hadn't got the head football coaching job at Mesa. I would have accepted. I would have went and played football and accepted a scholarship at either Brigham Young or University of South Carolina. But hey, didn't happen. And honestly, my life turned out fucking awesome anyway. Because if it would have went that route, I probably wouldn't have got to spend years in fucking countries in awesome countries seeing some amazing things like Afghanistan and like Yemen or off in the Indian Ocean, or spending time in an Egyptian seedy hotel drinking chai, watching drug deals go like Indiana Jones. I wouldn't have got to do that shit. So my life turned out great anyway, but that's something I would have done different.
Yeah, the answer I was going to give you, because I thought it was an interesting question, and I would want, because I wonder if it relates to your life, it's your life, Ed, since you're the one asking this, because I would just want to know, why can't you do this thing that you feel you would need a second opportunity to do? You know what I mean? Where it's like, if you had another opportunity, would you do it in more drive and passion? So it's like, what is it that you want to do? Because I think people always feel like, this is what I do in life, and I can't do something new now. You know what I mean? And I think people, like, if you want to go back to college, if you want to be involved in some type of volunteer work, I don't know what it is you want to do, but there's no reason you can't go back and do things. I mean, look, obviously, let's say if it's military related, if you're above the age, you're not gonna be able to join the military again and stuff. But I think people forget, like, if you want to learn a new language, if you want to learn some type of new skill, if you want to get a new job, you don't like your current job, you want to be in a new relationship, like, what's stopping you? So, but I would want to know specifically what it relates to, because I think people tap out too easily in life. They're like, this is what I do. I'm at a job I hate. I'm in a relationship I hate. And I've just accepted it. And you don't have to accept things like that necessarily.
And the drive thing, I missed that. There's nothing I've ever done where I didn't give it 110%. The drive was always there. It's just, it was a decision. So whatever you decide, make sure your drive's there. That's on you. That's on you. And if you decide to not give it 110%, that's on you. But you know what? Even if you didn't then, you can now. So whatever you're doing now, just change that and give it 110%, and you'll forget about whatever you didn't give 110% in, whatever you didn't give all yourself in. If you do it now, it will make up for whatever past indiscretions, or if you want to say mistake, it's not a mistake. It's learning. You're learning. It's wisdom. But whatever you feel like you didn't give 110% on, I'm swear to God, you'll forget about it down the line because you're giving it all now. I promise you that, and it'll dissipate. You'll be like, well, fuck, I'm giving it now. I'm a badass now. So I agree with the end, man. You can always change your stars. If you need to, change it. Don't live in the past. Say, man, I wish I would have done that. It's done.
And there's too many people who feel that way.
Yeah. Bullets down range. You can't take that bullet back after you shoot it. All you can do is readjust, re-aim, and refire, and hit the mark the second time. That's all you got to do, guys. Damn, I should put that on a t-shirt. That's fucking good. T-shirt.
That was good. Tantoism right there. It was, right?
Yeah,
so
that's good. That's good.
We got to use that. All right. So with all these other emails, here's what I'm going to ask you guys. If you want us to do another Q&A episode like next month or something, or maybe September, leave us a comment on YouTube, because if you guys like these episodes, we'll keep doing them. If no one is commenting that they're into this, I'm going to throw the rest of these out and whatever. But if you guys like these episodes, we'll do another one at some point. I'm going to tell you, August is going to be an awesome month of shows. I haven't booked all of August, but the next 2 guests are big ones in studio. And I will tease this. The next guest on the podcast is someone that you guys probably never thought you're ever going to hear on the podcast. If you know my history in particular, you're probably going to be interested in hearing this person on the show. So.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool.
Right.
Yeah, guys.
It's someone you never thought we'd have on, right? Like
because of the relationship you guys had. I'd be honest with you, I didn't. But you with me, I get along with this guy all right. He's got his own demons he's got to deal with in his side of the house. I got my side, and but he did me a solid. I'm gonna go too far, and I'm gonna give it away.
You always do this with Corey Taylor. But I think it's someone who will be interesting. But yeah, we got Brad. We got 2 in studio. So we got this person in studio, then we got Brad Thor in studio. I love doing the in stuodios. I always feel like doing this on computer, it's kind of bullshit. It's not my thing. You
got to get your own studio. If I could be in studio, like me, it's the best. You got to get your own studio. It is. Man.
Well, how would I do this though? In New York? I got to go into the city. That's the good thing about being near the city, though, is like someone like Brad Thor, right? Is they're in the city to promote a book, or this next person is in the city to promote something. So I'm like, come in studio. So yeah, I don't mind getting on the subway or getting on the train near here and going to the city. I know it costs us money and stuff, but those shows come out great. They're some of the best shows we've done.
They don't cost that much. They're not that bad, man. I think all right. Well, I like doing these. Honestly, they're fun. I think they're fun for both me and Ian. So yeah, give us a comment. We got a ton of questions. I love seeing questions. I know Ian does too, because it means we're finally getting. It may take us a little while, but we're finally getting on the right track of what y'all want us to do. And the show is driven by y'all. So you guys need to tell us what you want us to do, and having those questions and doing these Q&As help us still guide us on the correct path that you want us on. So man, thanks, man. And yeah, put some comments in. Let's do another one next month.
That's all for this episode of Battleline Podcast. But we're always posting new content on social media. Follow us on Instagram at Battleline Podcast and on Twitter at Battleline Pod. That's an order. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes up every Tuesday. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. Believe in yourself. Face all challenges head on. And as always, never quit.